Welcome to Sikhcast, brought to you by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.
Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Jasleen Kaur, and I'm a transcreator on the Guru Granth Sahib project. We're excited to announce the release of the last 10 stanzas of the Var Sat composition by Guru Amardas Sahib. So this composition, just like the first 10 stanzas, is set in the rag or musical mode of Bilawal, which is a rag of auspiciousness, happiness, accomplishment, and determination. And it often is used in shabads that describe a kind of happiness experience through the union with IkOankar, the One. The title of this composition, as you might remember, Var Sat, refers to its structure and form, which is referring to a folk genre based on the 7 days of the week. Guru Amardas Sahib challenges the widespread understanding that certain days are auspicious or inauspicious, and uses that same structure of the calendar week to describe what it is we can be practicing, what habits we can be making, and what deeds we can do. So I thought, similarly to last release, I would talk a bit about the Rahal line and then look at the first stanza as a whole to better understand that main idea of the Rahal line. So Guru Amardas Sahib says, Ja ke mastak likhya lekh, ta ke man vasya prab ek Rahal. On whose forehead the writ is inscribed, in the mind of that being, the one Prabhu has dwelt. So in this first stanza, Guru Amardas Sahib is kind of addressing one of the biggest questions we fixate on, which is, regardless of what our religious affiliation or school of thought might be, is like, what is written? What is in our destiny? What makes us fortunate? What makes us unfortunate? Is this something that's destined from the beginning? Is there anything we can do about it? Is it just that this is written for us from the beginning and there's nothing to do, nothing to be done? And these kinds of fixations on these questions especially can be really paralyzing or fear-inducing. And so much of our complex systems of auspiciousness and spiritual currency and ritual are tied up in these questions, or maybe propelled by these questions. So in the first of the 10 stanzas, Guru Amardas Sahib is clarifying things for us. It's only in the being on whose forehead that writ is written that IkOankar comes to dwell. The divine name used here was Prabhu, which you might remember from previous compositions, is a name that highlights the royal and godlike nature of IkOankar, who fulfills this particular role of goodness and compassion. This is the one who's capable of helping us when no one else can. So, all that being said, what does it mean then for Prabhu to dwell within the being's mind? It's not that there's an absence of presence within some of us and that there is a presence in others, and that's what makes us fortunate or unfortunate. It's actually that the one dwells within all of us, and it's simply that we might not feel that presence. So our question might be how we can come to feel that presence. And Guru Amardas Sahib says this will only happen for us if the writ is written, right? So the clarity we have is just that the writ is the thing that helps us experience the presence in our hearts, but there's not an answer to this question of on whose head that writ is written. But the rest of the stanza kind of clarifies that for us. So let's explore that together. Guru Amardas Sahib says that IkOankar, the primeval being, the all-pervasive one who existed before anything existed, before the beginning of creation, is the creator of creation. So IkOankar not only is the creator of creation, but continues to create creation. And this is a big deal. This is paradigm shifting. This is not a sort of understanding of divinity where the divine creates all things in one fell swoop and then sort of passively watches creation unfold. This is a divine who is active and creative in the world, who is constantly present in a really tangible way in the world, who creates all of us and engages us in attachment to transient things and relationships, which you might remember is how we understand the term Maya. So we're all engaged in our own kind of stuff, in our own businesses and tasks and affairs and struggles in the world. And us being engaged and attached is precisely due to that will of the one that we hear about, that writ that we hear about in the Rahal line. So we're all oriented in this attachment. We're all busy doing things steeped in the world, and our desires are constantly increasing. We all know this. We all experience this in our own ways. We become insatiable. We become dissatisfied. We're constantly looking for more. But we might not be able to see then, when we're so entangled, that the thing to disentangle us, to keep this attachment from overpowering us, is the kind of love and devotion that happens when we are single-mindedly sort of attached only to the one. We're engrossed in this phenomenal world, in the transience of our things and our relationships, and we don't spend any time or effort cultivating love for IkOankar, we sort of get ourselves stuck in this cycle of birth and death. And we can understand that as like sort of the classical understanding of birth and death literally in like multiple lives, and also the way that we like go through many cycles within a day. We become different versions of ourselves throughout our lives. But the bottom line is we waste these precious lives. We waste this precious time, and then we leave this world having kind of squandered the opportunity of this human life. So what is the solution then? Guru Amardas Sahib says it's by engaging with the eternal wisdom, by being guided by that wisdom, that we gain an awareness of the true purpose of this time and these lives, which is to experience connection with IkOankar, to feel that presence within our hearts. And if we can offer ourselves to that wisdom and really be guided by it, which requires a kind of chipping away at our egos, then we can gain insights about that one and come to intimately know that one. And all of those dramas and plays of the world end for us. All of that like show of the physical world no longer carries much weight. So if we come back to the Mahala then, which tells us everything in the world is happening in accordance with the will of the one, that no one is free from attachment, that we're all engaging in duality instead of in love for the divine, and that we get caught up in the kind of creations of the creator rather than devoting ourselves to the creator. And if we return to that commonly asked question about luck or destiny or fortune or misfortune, we'll find that Guru Amardas Sahib is showing us that the real reflection ought to be on what we're doing, that we're not passive recipients of some kind of destiny or luck or fortune, that we ought to reflect on our forgetfulness, on our engagement with worldliness, and on our wasted time. And if we reflect on that, then we can start to understand how to get out of this wandering, how to get out of these feelings of separation and forgetfulness. It's the wasting of the opportunity of our lives that makes us unfortunate. So we can actually make these lives fortunate if we engage with the eternal wisdom, if we come to understand that writ so many speak of, if we come to see the futility of the exercises we may be caught up in that we thought would bring us fortune, and learn how to really live in pursuit of connection with IkOankar. We will come to understand the one is residing within us, has always been. We will fall deeply in love with that one, and we will become indistinguishable from the one that we love. So the question then is, will we pursue this connection and feel that presence in our hearts? What are we spending our days doing? Are we making an effort towards more entanglement, or making an effort towards more love and connection with the eternal one, the one who created all this creation? So as always, I encourage you to engage with the footnotes, the transcreations and translations, and the commentaries, and really reflect on this for yourself. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Read the translations and commentaries at gurugranthsahib.io.
You are listening to Sikhcast by Sikh Research Institute, illuminating every path.